goodness, I'm Max Garcia, this is MWG Tech, and today we are revisiting the iPhone SE after what I like to call the tech honeymoon phase. I've had the iPhone SE for like 5 months now, and I gotta admit it, for the first 2 to 3 months, I was hyped about this thing. I was like, haha, everyone else has large phones, look at you suckers. I have this small phone, which is so discreet, and that is true. But there's advantages and disadvantages to this small design. First off, I want to say it, the iPhone SE is super small. And just by saying it's super small, it's going to have a small screen. And that small screen has kind of led me to not be that productive on this device, such as not being able to import videos from my Snapchat spectacles onto this thing. I can't edit videos on here. Kind of texting people, calling people on here, not as great of an experience as I would have liked. But with it being so small, it's super discreet and you could just toss it anywhere. And oh my gosh, this iPhone 5 like design is beautiful. This boxed off corners, oh, it just feels so good in the hand. Unlike the recent iPhones, which are kind of feel slippery, with this aluminum back and the sharp corners. Oh, this design is so good that Apple is literally going back to this design with the iPhone 12 in 2020. But talking about the iPhone SE in general here, what's the future of this device? Well, apparently Apple is going to refresh it next March in 2020, and they might call it iPhone SE 2, or they might call it iPhone 9 because there's never been an iPhone 9. But anyways, the iPhone SE 2, we'll call it, is supposed to start at $400 with the A13 chip, and it's going to have a better camera, but it's going to be a single camera, and it's going to come in the iPhone 7/8/6/6S design with that 4.7 inch display. And I gotta admit, that 4.7 inch display, I think that's a sweet spot for such a small phone. I'm sorry, I'm just not that big of a fan of this, because if you're gonna watch YouTube on here, Netflix, Disney Plus, cable TV on here, it's really small. The speakers on the bottom, they're manageable. It does have a headphone jack if you like the headphone jack, and I gotta admit it, Touch ID has just been a no-go for me. I think I suffer from sweaty hands, or my hands are a little bit sweatier than other people's, because whenever I'm going to Touch ID, it works like 20% of the time. And when I had Face ID on my iPhone X, Face ID worked like 95% of the time. So the accuracy on Touch ID, I'm not a fan of it. The camera, there's no camera bump, and it reaches a peak of 4K at 30, which is good enough. I always keep it at 1080p at 60 FPS. Because I like this extra frames per second. And the camera is good, but it's definitely not as good as the newer iPhones, with the iPhone 11 Pro having triple lenses on the back. Oh, with that 12 megapixel front-facing camera. The front-facing camera, it's poop on this thing. But on the newer phones, it's a drastic difference between this camera and the newer ones. But this gets the job done. It's not flagship iPhone by any means. You're not gonna want to get this one, but the iPhone SE 2 is gonna make the iPhone SE lineup in the whole iPhone ecosystem interesting, because I really wish this had the A13 processor, because with that processor the battery life is gonna be much better. But for some reason on iOS 13, the battery life on the iPhone SE is dreadful. It's atrocious. It is hard to deal with, because I literally only get about 1 hour to 2 hours on screen on time, and if I'm on cellular, oh, my battery just drains like this, going from 100 to 85% to not 70%. And I thought like the days of my battery jumping from 13% to 1% was over when I had the iPhone X, but my iPhone X completely died by water, so I was forced to get this. And now I'm faced with those same battery problems again that were on my old iPhone 6s, and now are on this iPhone SE. The battery just isn't good at all. iOS 13 is a nice experience. Like, I could do the handoff feature with the HomePod, which is cool. And I love iOS 13 with the volume UI, and it has dark mode, which I actually turned off because I like light mode better. Turns out once you want something so bad and you actually get it, you don't really appreciate it that much for that long. Anyways, the iPhone SE it's a good device, not great. That's why I actually got a Pixel 3 to kind of carry my smartphone load a little bit, because frankly I'm frustrated sometimes using this thing. Like, oh, it's too slow, the display just isn't as big as I want it to be. But if you are a person who just want to be minimalistic, you don't use your phone pretty much at all, but you just want an iPhone maybe to pair with your Apple Watch or AirPods with music, and just overall be in the Apple ecosystem, but super minimalistic style, the iPhone SE is for you. If you're any other person that watches all their content on their phone, you definitely don't want this device. And the camera, subpar. But hey, this is from 2016 and the camera is that thin, so that's all I could ask for. And I could definitely say I'm on the lookout for the iPhone SE 2 and possibly the iPhone 12. We'll see how those Black Friday 2020 deals go. That's it for me here. Thank you for watching. Make sure you listen. Peace out.
3, 2, 1.